Are you searching for purpose of life? Discover your true identity. Stay tuned to Shalom World.
The ultimate marketplace is our planet Earth. So in the marketplace, we're desperately in need for a prophetic voice. A voice that links the urge for the ecological response to a spirituality of the heart. The ultimate marketplace is our planet Earth. In the first part of this series, we looked at a spirituality for the marketplace, and we talked about guest and presence, about innate dignity, compassion. But our times are calling us to stretch that. And while we talked about Jesus as the upside down Messiah, and we looked at a scriptural basis for all which we had said, we're called at this time to go further. We've been invited to break open a little more deeply the endpoints to the kind of transcendent, endpoints that have meaning and power for people at this time. But once again, the challenge facing us is that there will be a tendency to immediately label these spiritual engagements as not really a Catholic thing or as being central to our faith. It's this fundamental dualism as to what is spiritual and what is a religious thing and what is not. And it's this dualism sometimes that's led to many walking away and seeking meaning somewhere else. Perhaps our prophetic call at this time is to be the bridge builders of meaning between the richness of our faith tradition and the meaning searching of our world. Time and again, in the Old Testament, we see reference to the presence of God, and particularly the beauty of God's creation, especially in the particular Psalms. Jesus continually references the beauty of the natural world, and he's at home in the hills and in the olive groves, in the wheat fields, and he references the birds of the air and the lilies of the field. And while that is good, the danger is that we limit our engagement with the beauty of God's creation to some feel-good reference to those lilies of the field. The prophetic time in which we live has named time and again the oneness of all of life. One of the images that I use is that of the beggar sitting at the city gates, and he's sitting on a box, and the beggar lifts his arms to all who pass by, pleading for their alms, their loose coins. Finally, a stranger stops and he asks him, "What is in the box that you are sitting on?" And the beggar replies that he's never looked inside it. The stranger invites him to, and inside there's a variety of jewels, a richness of jewels and coins that he could never, ever have dreamed of. We too can often be like that beggar and fixation on the small tin of coins. And when the stranger approaches, we can say, no, in the box, it is nothing but an old box. All I need is my little tin and the coins of my day. So in our present day world, we've been gifted with this powerful insight into the actual created world as being a primary place and a way of encountering and experiencing God. We've been invited to grow from an anthropomorphic approach to the heart that sees things totally in terms of the actual as a human, to the spirituality of all of life, where the primary eyes are those of love, the eyes of life, for God's gift of creation all around us. One of the things that I struggle with is that when I make statements like I just did, I'm labelled. I'm either radical, or I'm a greenie, or I'm crazy, or I am a heretic. And yet, if you reflect upon it, what I've just said is profoundly spiritual. This deep oneness, this deep interconnectedness, it's profoundly of the heart of God. It's been our tradition right from the very beginning. So a deep and deeply reflective engagement with the natural world, our complete marketplace, not just the human marketplace, but our planetary one, is a profound place for meaning and purpose. On one hand, this nature provides the most beautiful and wonderful inn to a spiritual encounter. The sunrise, the sunset, the forest walk, the beach walk, the beauty and wonder of nature around us, the wow of God's creation all around us. That can be powerful. It's no accident that someone like David Attenborough's films, his whole series points to the beauty of our world, the Blue Planet and other extraordinary films. The earth is not simply, as Laudato Si says, the actual environment, a scenic backdrop on which the human drama will take place. Rather, it is what has made us who we are and what sustains our every second of existence. Francis of Assisi, he knew this. He sensed it. An extraordinary prophetic man. Francis could see the interconnectedness and the interdependence of all of life. He was a great steward of creation. His canticle to the sun is a precious thing. His dance in the field of wildflowers, his embrace of the leopard and of the wolf, so much more. Again, in kind of actual Laudato Si, it says, I believe that St. Francis is the example par excellence of care for the vulnerable and of an integral ecology lived out joyfully and authentically. Pope Francis in Laudato Si talks about Francis's particular care, where he was linked the beauty of the natural world and God's human poor. He was a mystic, Francis says, a pilgrim who lived in simplicity and in wonderful harmony with God, with others, with nature and himself. Pope Francis says that Francis of Assisi shows us how inseparable the bonds for nature, justice for the poor, commitment to society and interior peace are. But sadly, in our time, while the scientific world has shouted at us of the perils of global warming, of the loss of species, of the loss of rainforests, of habitat, sadly, one of the leading critics of all of this science have been the Christian faith communities. It was Gandhi who said, "Live simply so that others may simply live." Laudato Si says that invariably it's the poor and the powerless who feel most powerfully the destruction and abuse of the natural world. And again, in another place, it says human beings frequently seem to see no other meaning in their natural environment than what serves for immediate use and consumption. That was the words of Saint Pope John Paul II. So in the marketplace, we're desperately in need for a prophetic voice, a voice that links the urge for the ecological response to a spirituality of the heart. So into this world have stepped so many Catholic theologians who, while embracing science, have pointed to the spirituality of stewardship, to the wise use of the planet's resources, to the gift of beauty of simple living. The Passionist priest, Father Thomas Berry, the Dominican sister Miriam McGillis, and so many others have written and reflected on the world of God, the Word of God that is creation. We live in a global village, a phrase coined by the extraordinary Catholic layman Marshall McLuhan. Marshall McLuhan could say with Laudato Si, all is connected, all is one. So pointing not just to the beauty of our world, but pointing to the reasons why it's so fragile at this time. Pointing to the effect on the poor and the powerless, and our need in response to the gospel, our need in response to the call of God to be there in brotherhood and sisterhood with all. In Laudato Si it says, "This sister, the earth, now cries out to us because of the harm that we have inflicted upon her by our irresponsible use and abuse of the goods which God has endowed her. This can't go on." For thousands of years, our Indigenous brothers and sisters from every continent have pointed to the beauty and wonder of creation, but more importantly, have pointed to how to walk gently upon the earth, to know and have an intimate relationship with it. Chief Seattle and North American Indians said, "You must teach your children that the ground beneath their feet is the ashes of our grandfathers, so that they will respect the land. Tell your children that the earth is rich with the lives of our kin. Teach your children what we have taught our children, that the earth is our mother, and whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons of the earth. If men spit upon the ground, they spit upon themselves. This we know," says Chief Seattle, "the earth does not belong to man, but man belongs to the earth. This we know, all things are connected, like the blood which unites one family. All things are connected." And in the Australian Indigenous people from the northern parts of Australia have a beautiful word, Dardiri, deep inner heart listening. And there's another Indigenous word, Kanyini, our interconnectedness, our dependence upon the earth, that we are one with. So in the marketplace at this time, we are called to a prophetic listening, a building of a bridge between our beautiful, wonderful spiritual traditions and the search for meaning and purpose in the natural world around us. This could be the prophetic question of our time. We are being watched lovingly. Do we respect? Do we listen? Are we hearing the signs of the times? Are we responding with the heart? Can we see the oneness, the beauty, the dignity of all of life? We can easily go to Matthew 25. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger and you clothed me. At this time, it is the earth which has become a stranger. It is the earth who is sick. And with that strangeness and that illness, the human poor upon earth are suffering even more. One of the great calls of the gospel of our time is to respond, to see the presence of God in all around us, and to walk gently upon the earth, to call others to do that too, to be stewards of the earth, wise stewards. And if we do, some of the many who walked away will look back and see us as the prophets that this world so desperately needs.
A lot of talk in our church today about the new evangelisation, and we might ask, well, what's new about the new evangelisation? One thing that's new is that we're trying to renew the faith in people who should already be Catholic, should already be Christian. Individuals, families, communities, whole cultures that need to rediscover the gospel. And so what's new is that they're getting a new shot in the arm of faith, of evangelisation. Another thing that's new about it is the way that we do that. And the new media and groups like Shalom World TV are very important for bringing the gospel anew to our cultures, to our families, to each of us individually. And so I encourage all the viewers of Shalom World TV, and I encourage Shalom World TV themselves to keep up the good work, to keep watching this channel and to keep up the good work of presenting the Catholic faith to our world today.